So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Married with Ino Yamanaka? So let's start the series. Naruto, a 5-year-old boy with blonde hair and whiskers, is wearing blue shorts and a white t-shirt with a swirl on the front as he walks around High Ninja Village. He has no pals and is a little depressed. This has always been the case, and if he encounters kids his own age, they either attack him or run away. It just makes him upset, even though he has no idea why people do any of these things. That only pertains to the kids. Every now and then, grown-ups and ninjas chase him. They are always so angry with him, and he doesn't understand why they beat him and call him demon names. How is he meant to have hurt them when he has never seen half of them before? He's going to the park today, so maybe things will be different. If not, he'll just take a snooze in the tree. Strange things have been happening to him lately. He finds bags of food, candy, toys, clothing, and books when he returns to his flat. He doesn't really care that he doesn't know how they got there. He sees several kids as he arrives at the park, but at least they don't attack him. In addition, he spots two new acquaintances, a blonde girl who also seems lovely and a female with pink hair and a red ribbon around her head. He smiles at them. The pink-haired girl looks at him but does not smile, while the blonde girl smiles. Then he gets close to the climbing frame, but just as he starts to climb it, he gets ripped off and thrown to the ground. He is surrounded by 3 boys who sneer at him without attacking. Nerd asks, "Why did you do that?" The person who took him out scowled and said, "This is ours, get lost loser, we don't want your kind here." The 2 girls watch in shock as the bullies continue to play and laugh. Since these boys are older than him, Naruto is sad and starts crying. Because she knows the kid but is scared to become friends with him for fear of being mocked, the blonde girl is disturbed. Naruto stops at the tree, which he has stupidly named Mr. Tree. He's 5, get over it, and looks up at it while the 2 girls watch him. Then he starts climbing the tree quickly. A few hours later, the blonde girl's best friend, who has pink hair, left since her mother brought her home. The blonde laughs to herself as she watches Naruto and says, "Wow, that's a big tree." Sakura Haruno is her name. The blonde girl is watching Naruto, who seems to have fallen asleep on the tree. This amuses her, but she is also concerned about how he would descend because, in her view, descending is typically more challenging than climbing a tree. She snaps out of her daydream and exclaims, "Hey mom," when she hears her name and turns up to see her mother. "How was the park, Ino, dear?" a blonde woman asks with a smile. The girl, now known as Ino, smiled and remarked, "It was okay Naruto turned up, but it was sad 3 boys were mean to him." The woman asks with a sigh, "What did they do Ino?" Ino exhales. "They pulled him off the climbing frame and pushed him to the floor, then they told him that it was theirs and he was a loser and it wasn't for his kind, whatever that means." "What happened then, Ino?" she asks the naive young guys, letting out another sigh. Ino replies, pointing to the tree, "He climbed the tree, look he's asleep I think." "What's he doing up there that's too high? What if he falls and breaks his neck?" the woman wonders, looking up. "Well, he can't stay up there, if he's asleep he'd fall." Fortunately, the terrible fox that has transformed Naruto into a terrified small child will heal him. As she nods, Ino asks, "So what do we do mom?" Izumi is grinning. "Hold on, I'll get your father." It's not as if he and Shikaku were talking about anything interesting. Izumi turns around in response to Ino's laughter and says, "Inoichi, get your butt over here." Izumi, Inoichi's wife, is heard talking to his buddy Shikaku a few meters away. "Your wife's calling, you're totally whipped," Shikaku replies with a smirk. Inoichi sighs, "And you ain't." Shikaku sighs and remarks, "She's troublesome." Inoichi smirks and remarks, "Everything's troublesome to you Shikaku." "Pretty much I'll see you later," Shikaku nods. Inoichi notices Ino saying, "Hey princess, had fun at the park," as he nods and walks over to his wife and daughter. Ino smiles and responds, "Yes, daddy." Inoichi smiles good and turns to Izumi, asking, "So what's up?" Izumi points up the tree and says, "Naruto's sleeping in the tree, get him down before he breaks his neck." Inoichi sighs and remarks, "Chased up the tree again has he?" According to Ino, 3 boys picked on him so he climbed it. Inoichi nods and adds, "I see, hold on, I'll get him down." Inoichi jumps from a limb to grab Naruto. He's so light, doesn't he eat? We leave food weight. He's 5, he can't cook. Maybe he's scared it's poison, wouldn't put it past some of these villagers to trick him with food just to poison him. He jumps off the tree, carries him to Ino and Izumi, and sets him down on a bench. Then he looks at Izumi and motions for her to approach. She wonders, what's wrong? Inoichi remarks, "He's as light as a feather." Izumi continues, glancing at Naruto, "But we supply him with food." I give a nod. "True, but you know how the villagers are, he probably thinks it's poisoned or something." Izumi sighs, "We need to get custody of him." Inoichi nods his head. "I know I've tried." Headmaster Sama says yes, the council says no, my hands are tied. Looking back at Naruto's sleeping form, Izumi remarks, "But if he doesn't eat he could die and you know what would happen then." Inoichi replies, "I know, but what can we do? It's not the first time I've tried. I know the headmaster cares for Naruto, it's those elders, they're scheming, I just don't know what their game is." Izumi shouts, we should just introduce ourselves to him, get him to trust us. I'll talk to him, you take Ino home, I'll take Naruto home, then I'll speak to the headmaster, Inoichi sighs. He's cared for by Headmaster Sama, who might be able to get him to eat the food. I wish we could, but we can't. Headmaster Sama allows us to buy him stuff, but that's the only thing we can do, I'm afraid, even though I might have an idea. Come along, Ino. Izumi scoffs as she turns to face Ino. Fine, you do that. Rising, Ino says, bye daddy. Goodbye, princess, Inoichi says with a smile. Inoichi then surveys his surroundings. Luckily, nobody is there, so he lifts Naruto up, drives him home, and casts a Gen Spirit Art over him. Using an extra key that the headmaster gave him, he quickly opens the apartment door. Arriving to the flat, he says, this place is disgusting, surely the headmaster can get a better place for him. He sighs and says, he eats ramen well, but that's not good enough. He also finds ramen packets in the garbage when he walks into the pantry and finds that the food has been kept undisturbed. He drags Naruto into his bedroom, where he discovers that the leg seems to have snapped and the bed is tilted. Damn villagers. He seats him on the floor and looks at the legs, which have been severed with a saw. He sleeps on that thing, and I'm surprised his back isn't killing him well. I'll get him a new bed, he says after touching the mattress and noticing springs almost piercing it. He puts Naruto in bed, takes off his sandals, shakes his head, and says, oh Minato, Naruto mom, your sons are having a hard time. I wish we could do more. He groans when he sees the clothes on a shelf and says, he needs some drawers to put them in. Can I speak to the headmaster? He asks the headmaster's secretary as he leaves the room and apartment, and then he makes his way to the headmaster's tower. The secretary nods, of course he's free, go right in. Inoichi nods and adds, thank you. He knocks on the door and hears someone say enter, so he does just that. The third headmaster looks up from smoking his pipe while finishing documents and says, Inoichi, what can I do for you? We didn't have a meeting scheduled, did we? No, Headmaster Sama, this is about Naruto. Inoichi shakes his head. The third headmaster nods and says, I see. Please take a seat. Inoichi does as asked and then starts, okay, for starters Izumi really wants Naruto to live with us and I know you can't do anything but I have to ask for her sake, but earlier today Ino was at the park and Naruto turned up. From what Ino said, he was about to climb the climbing frame when he was forcibly pulled off the swing. The third headmaster said, I see, go on. Answers, Ino said they had words with Naruto. 3 boys called him names and he climbed a tree, a very high tree, I might add. I brought him down and this is what shocked me, he was as light as a feather. We buy him food but all he seems to eat is ramen cups, but I think I might know why. The third headmaster nods and says, you think he thinks the food's poison so he won't eat it? Inoichi replies, yes, that's my opinion. Then there was his bed, it's slanted, literally 2 of the legs have snapped. They were beside the bed, he's wedged bricks to keep the bed up but it's still slanted. I checked the legs and they hadn't snapped, they well sawed off. Inoichi's chin is being rubbed. Then the mattress, the springs are almost coming through and it's rock hard. I'm thinking of buying him a bed and some drawers for his clothes. He has them all on one shelf. Wait, he didn't even have a washing machine, how does he wash his clothes? The third headmaster nods, I see, buy the bed and drawers as well as a washing machine, but bring them here. I'll talk to him about the food and it might go down better if I deliver them. Responds, hi, Headmaster Sama, I'll do that. I won't tell Izumi, or she will march over there and pull him out of that apartment and will bring him to our house and not care about what you say. I'm barely keeping her from doing it now. She hates seeing how the village treats Naruto. She feels she is betraying Naruto mom by doing nothing, and I kind of feel the same with Minato. The third headmaster responds, I know Inoichi, I feel the same way you do. I'll do all I can, you have my word. I know how stubborn Izumi is. Inoichi chuckles. I know I don't want to quote Shikaku, but sometimes she can be troublesome. The third headmaster chuckles. Yes, they sure can. To tell you the truth, my wife's the same, she wants to take care of him also. Do you think he'll be as smart as his father? Inoichi shrugs and adds, hard to say really. Headmaster number 3 nods. Okay, get those items to me as soon as you can and I'll visit him, it's been a while actually. Inoichi nods and says, I'll get them and be back in a few hours. Sounds good, and I'm glad he has you and Izumi looking out for him. The third headmaster nods. Inoichi beams. It's the least we can do. Minato and Naruto mom were our friends, we have to help their son as much as we can. The third headmaster nods indeed. Over the years, Naruto has undergone numerous alterations. Now 8 years old, he still receives new things from his unnamed friends because he enjoys thinking about them. After speaking with Gigi, he went home and started preparing the food he had discovered in sacks. In other ways, Naruto might be regarded as a genius at the age of 8, but he wouldn't consider himself one now. Since no one had previously taught him to read and write, Gigi's wife even did so. That was a long time ago. Both of them agreed that he was a superb cook for his age, and Gigi's wife even asserted that he outperformed her in the kitchen. After receiving cookbooks from his wife, Gigi has become an excellent chef. Gigi even permits him to prepare meals for himself and his spouse. On Naruto's 6th birthday, Gigi presented him with a scroll containing spirit artwork for each of the 5 affinities for wind. It was a dangerous move that Naruto found easy to master: Futon, Daitapa, Wind Release, Great Breakthrough. He acquired the following skills: Earth Doton, Doryuden, Earth Release, Earth Dragon Bullet, Lightning Raiton, John, Lightning Release, False Darkness, Sueton, Daibakufu no Spirit Art, Water Release, Great Waterfall Technique, and Katon, Gokaku no Spirit Art, Fire Release, Great Fireball Technique. He had to learn the principles of Spirit Art first, of course, and he did so under Gigi's close guidance. These were the transformation technique of Henge no Spirit Art, the body replacement/substitution technique of Kawarimi no Spirit Art, and the body flicker technique of Shunshin no Spirit Art. He also learned about chakra control techniques like Ki no Bori no Shugyo, tree climbing technique, Suiman Hoko no Gyo, water surface walking technique, and Geik no Bori no Gyo, cliff climbing technique. Surprisingly, Bunshin no Spirit Art, clone technique, was the only basic spirit art he found difficult. The clone would look ill when Nerdu tried the spirit art. Third headmaster allowed Nerdu to learn a spirit art called Kage Bunshin no Spirit Art, shadow clone technique, in order to solve this problem. The third headmaster, who considered Nerdu to be a great genius in many aspects, was shocked to learn this kin spirit art in just 2 hours. The third headmaster was initially shocked, but after learning who his parents were, he accepted it as the usual. The Kage Bunshin no Spirit painting has special powers when your clones are destroyed. It was a great training method that gave you access to all of the knowledge it had acquired. Nerdu didn't know who had given him the extra presents on his 6th birthday. Every year, he received gifts from the third headmaster, who was acquainted with the Yamanaka family. Black ANBU leggings and a mesh shirt with a navy blue short-sleeved t-shirt featuring a Hyde Ninja Village insignia on the front and a swirl on the back were among the gifts. Third headmaster was also aware of another mysterious source from which Nerdu obtained chakra weights. These came from the masked ninja 6th headmaster, a student of Nerdu's father. Nerdu had to learn how to use them from the third headmaster, but he caught it up quickly. The village still hated Nerdu, but he hasn't been attacked recently for 2 reasons: either he kept receiving anonymous notes from someone, or they were unable to arrest him due to his speed and cunning. I've been at the academy for a few weeks now, and Nerdu turned 8 a few weeks ago. He saw many children from clans when he first arrived, and he has studied up on each clan so he knows what to watch out for and what they are capable of. For instance, he has seen the blonde girl a lot throughout the years. She is a member of the Yamanaka clan. The Mindwalkers of Ino Yamanaka's clan are thought to have a very dangerous but cool ability. The boy from the Nara clan, a bright group whose only flaw is their laziness, is Shadow Ninja Nara. The young member of the Akimichi clan, Choji Akimichi, comes next. You'll have to go to the hospital if you call him fat, even if he's a very round youngster. Kiba Inazuka of the Inazuka clan, a young man who uses dogs for spirit art, was among the many other clan children in attendance. Nerdu claims that although he is arrogant and aware of his strength, it isn't all. Next is Hinata Hyuga, a member of the Hyuga clan, who possesses the Byakugan, a do spirit art/Kekai Genkai. According to Nerdu's views, Hinata blushes a lot, is quite shy, and sadly lacks confidence in her abilities. Additionally, there is Shino Aburame from the strange Aburame clan, who drains you of chakra via a terrible method known as Kikeichu. Apart than that, little is known about them. Last but not least, the child Nerdumam is the last member of the clan to possess both Kekai Genkai, which allows individuals to recreate spirit artwork, and Red Eye Power, another spirit art. Nerdu believes that the clan are merely thieves. They also have a superiority complex and conceit, and based on what he has seen since enrolling in the academy, Nerdu's mother is the most arrogant person he has ever encountered. The fact that the town treats him like a prince, which he finds somewhat pathetic, doesn't help either. There are other offspring who are not members of the clan. No one can yet know that he is the last of the clan in the Namikaze clan, even if he is technically a member of a clan. Well, the third headmaster told him that. He was very calm, since Nerdu knows his renter as well. Yes, he was angry with his father at first, but he soon came to the realization that he had no choice. Nerdu was somewhat sympathetic to the villagers because his lord killed hundreds or perhaps thousands of people, including his own parents, but that doesn't give them the right to punish him when he isn't even the demon they think he is. With the exception of Sakura Haruno, a kid with pink hair who Nerdu finds incredibly appealing after observing her in Ino throughout the years, none of the other clanless youngsters are particularly intriguing. When Nerdu first met her, she was quiet, but now she's talkative and seems to be a fangirl, which hurts Nerdu since being a fangirl takes away from being a kunoichi, and if you ignore your training, you'll die or worse, which is a liability that nobody wants. Additionally, Nerdu notes that Ino is appealing. He always smiles back at her, although he's not sure why. Among the numerous things his clones have read about in literature is the capacity to read people's body language, which is a great method to tell if someone is lying or not. Nerdu has noticed that the teachers don't pay attention to him. He has considered it several times, but he has no right to change them. He was initially saddened by the looks he received from some teachers, but now he finds it bothersome because they are obviously too upset to see clearly. Nerdu has noticed that although the sentiments are reciprocal, his mother doesn't seem to like him or care. When Nerdu does something correctly or better than him, she seems to become irritated, as if everyone else must be lesser than him since he is someone else. It gets a little tiresome after Nerdu's mother accuses him of cheating 10 times, as if hurling kunai at a target is a cheat. He was acting like a baby the first time, acting out because he was superior to him and got a perfect score. Additionally, Naruto has seen that a significant number of women who are more interested in asking the team out than in furthering their careers are fans of Naruto's mother. What good is it for them to even go to the academy if they are going to waste their time chasing a man who treats them with nothing but contempt? No matter what Naruto's mother does, Naruto in Nin Spirit Art cancels his move out. It's evident that Naruto aspires to be an Avenger in Tai Spirit Art because he is faster overall and his mother is currently stronger, albeit not by much. Naruto Mom has battled Naruto several times, and each time the match ends in a draw. His great endurance also sets him apart from the other academy kids, who are either having fun with their buddies or, in the case of Naruto Mom, pouting. Naturally, Naruto is okay and his mother is continuously taking deep breaths as the match is declared a draw. Naruto trains continuously, but it's not like he hasn't already mastered the 3 chakra exercises that have been assigned to him, giving him an advantage over the other trainees. While he is at the academy, his own clones train, either by practicing their meager chakra control, reading books or scrolls, or sparring. When Naruto and I first met when he was 5.5 years old, she held him like a teddy bear and said he was so adorable that she didn't want to let him go. I is like a big sister to Naruto. In a way, Naruto still lacks friends his own age, although he does have friends like the Ikarakus and Gigi. She loves Naruto as a sister figure and worries about him. She often asks how his training is going or how the academy is. Naruto wishes he had friends because, although some of the clan kids seem like a lot of fun, he is still a young child and doesn't want to waste his time if they treat him the same way the others did. Naruto is currently reading a scroll about a new spirit artwork called Futon, Repusho, Wind Release Gale Palm, while eating his homemade bento for lunch. According to a book he read, Gigi's kid, Asuma Sarutobi, is among the few wind users in Hyde Ninja Village. He wants to discover his affinity now that he is aware about chakra paper. He looks up to see Shadow Ninja Nara and his friend Choji Akimichi standing beside him while he reads the scroll and asks, "Can I help you too with something?" Grinning, Choji says, "Hey, Naruto, what you up to?" Naruto beams. "Eating a bento I made and reading a scroll on a new spirit art, I'm going to learn." The Shadow Ninja nods and then says, "May we join you?" The rest of the kids are troublesome. Naruto nods and responds, "Oh, okay, sure." Shadow Ninja and Choji sit down, and Choji smiles and remarks, "Wow, that smells good, a strong smell, what's in it?" Naruto is grinning. "Rice, some chicken with curry sauce on it and some pickled vegetables." "Wow," smiles Choji, "so you can cook, that's cool." Naruto gives a nod. "Yes, I got taught to cook, now I cook all the time." Choji smiles. "That's cool, maybe you can make me one someday." Nods. "Sure, if you want I can do that, but first I have to ask, why exactly are you here? It's not as if I'm well liked in the village, I don't exactly have any friends my age." Shadow Ninja sighs. "To be honest Naruto, neither of us hates you, we think you're pretty cool, you annoy Naruto Mom and that's always a laugh, so how about it, do you want to be friends with us too?" To Naruto's amazement, they want to be friends. "Sure, why not?" Choji smiles. "Cool, so can you cook me what you had today for me tomorrow?" Naruto grins. "Yeah, sure, but doesn't your mom prepare food for you?" With a smirk, the Shadow Ninja responds, "Oh, she does, but he's always hungry afterward." The three of them laugh and continue talking as if they found it interesting when Naruto tells them about the spirit art he is seeing. Looking through his crystal ball, the third headmaster comments, "I'm glad you've made some friends, my boy, you will need them in the future." "Oh, and that bento seems tasty, maybe I can get him to make me one." He is happy that Naruto has finally made friends with the Akimichi and Nara lads. Unbeknownst to the three of them as they return to class, Ino, a blonde kunoichi, is also pleased that he has gained some friends, even if they are the indolent Nara and the incessantly hungry Choji. It's shocking and amazing when Naruto puts his bento in a ceiling scroll with the spirit art scroll after lunch. She smells his bento and looks at her lunch, which is so boring that she almost starts crying. The three new buddies, Choji, Naruto, and Shadow Ninja, were sitting next to each other when they returned to class, with Choji in the middle, Naruto on the left, and Shadow Ninja on the right. Choji offered them chips as well. All in all, Naruto had a successful day. Shadow Ninja decided to draw the word troublesome on his face before he went to sleep. Ino, Kiba, and Choji all chuckled at what Naruto had done. At the end of the day, Shadow Ninja woke up and noticed that people were laughing at him. He wondered why, but he wasn't very interested. Before they went, Choji said goodbye to Shadow Ninja and his new friend Naruto. When he turned around and saw Ino by herself, Naruto smiled at her once more and remarked, "That was pretty cool Naruto, the lazy bum shouldn't fall asleep in class." "Yeah, I wonder what his parents will think," replies Naruto. She chuckles. "They will probably laugh, while his mom or his dad will probably just say troublesome." "Do you think that was his first word?" Naruto says, nodding. "I don't mind her talking to me." Ino is laughing. "Probably, well I have to go see you tomorrow Naruto." Ino escapes and leaves a confused Naruto. "Okay, that was weird, oh well might as well go home then, dispel my clones don't want to pass out again, once is enough, although I don't know how I woke up in my bed and how I even got that comfy bed, well whoever got me the bed thanks." After that, he heads back to his apartment to finish reading the new spirit art and see what he has discovered. Despite his happiness at finally having some pals, he still needs to buy more chakra paper to find out his affinity, as well as more sealing scrolls and supplies for Choji's bento. He still has to figure out the problem with the dialogue with Ino. 4 years later, Naruto is 12 years old and has a select group of friends that includes Shino, Choji, Kiba, and Shadow Ninja. Both within and outside the academy, they all spend a lot of time together. Naruto is liked by Shadow Ninja and Choji's parents, and the Nara, Akimichi, and Yamanaka have occasionally invited him over for a barbecue. Everyone was astounded by Naruto's culinary skills after Mrs. Akimichi asked him to prepare some food for them to sample. Although he hasn't informed his mother, Choji already knew after having second lunches prepared for him. Every family is present and laughing heartily. Strangely, they all appear to like Naruto, making him feel like a member of their extended family. When Ino told the Yamanakas that Naruto had made friends with Choji and Shadow Ninja, they were happy. Shikaka's emphasis on his culinary prowess thrilled them as well, only Ino was aware of his culinary prowess. When Izumi found something cute during these get-togethers, he shared it with Yoshino and Chuki, Choji's mother. They don't know her name, but whatever, who all observed that Ino would often blush and look at Naruto. They were all aware that Ino was crushing on Naruto. Ino's timidity toward Naruto also surprised them, but they also thought it was cute. It's not like he didn't notice her, she would continually grin at him, which he always found charming. However, Naruto was still too young to think about crushes and other such things, and he didn't really have somebody to explain that type of thing to him. He also played practical pranks with Kiba, Shadow Ninja, and Choji, which made them all very happy. When he painted all of the ANBU's uniforms pink, some thought he was hilarious. She had never laughed so hard in her life. Hana was amused by him, too. Shino was the lone friend who didn't spend time with Naruto after class. Naruto finds Shino fascinating even though the majority of people in Hyde Ninja Village don't comprehend the Aburame family. He was the most reserved of the group, though they did occasionally converse. We now find Naruto settling down to do the final section of the Genin test with his small group of companions. Shadow Ninja knew it might have been Naruto because his mother won Rookie of the Year, but for some reason he didn't demonstrate all of his abilities. He kept this thinking to himself, of course. Irika gave Naruto's mother the Rookie of the Year award, but the 5 friends were too busy talking about how they were going to become Genin to really notice. Naruto grumbles, "If Gigi hadn't told me not to show off all my skills in case the council found out, I would have smoked your ass, you emo team." Irika then started talking about the last part of the Genin test, addressing each individual by name and placing Naruto last because of his last name. The 5 friends just rolled their eyes, but all the girls aside from Hinata acted as though it was a surprise when they returned after passing their tests. Then, with Shino grinning, Naruto and Kiba behaved like females, clapped for him, and then burst out laughing with Shadow Ninja and Choji. Even Irika was having trouble holding back his laughter. Irika called Naruto to the front of the class after he had calmed down, and Naruto merely utilized Shunshin. He fulfilled all of Irika's requests, and when Irika told him to call forth a bunshin, Naruto conjured up 4 of them and henged them all as the headmaster, grinning broadly at Irika. Naruto's mother was upset because the other fangirls thought they were being ridiculed. Everyone was shocked when Irika just smiled and gave Naruto a headband, except for his friends, who knew they were clones. The 4 clones each offered Naruto a fist bump before vanishing as he just sat down. Irika shakes his head, congratulates them all, and instructs them to return on Monday for their team assignments as they all burst out laughing. Naturally, the fact that Naruto can create actual clones rather than just illusions upsets his mother. This time, Kiba, Choji, and surprisingly, Shadow Ninja behave like girls and repeat what Naruto did to Naruto's mother. After a few minutes of walking home by himself, Naruto hears his name yelled and turns to see Ino sprinting toward him. The 5 of them, it's difficult to tell with Shino, laugh as they all get up and exit the classroom. He waits for her and smiles as she stops next to him and starts to pant, adding, "You need to work on your stamina, Ino." A minute later, she smiles and stands up, adding, "Yeah, I probably should. I can't believe you took the piss out of Naruto mom twice." Naruto beams. "Oh yes, I vaguely remember doing that. Was it the one when I acted like a fangirl or the other one?" She grinned. "The first one. I can't believe you did that." Naruto mom was bright red. I found it hard to hold in my laughter. Naruto smiles and asks, "I'm glad you liked it, so what's up?" When Ino asks, "What are you up to now?" she smiles. Naruto chuckles. "Nothing much until later on. The guys are getting together to celebrate becoming Genin. Quite an accomplishment. What about you? Are you doing anything?" She shakes her head and asks, "No, so what are the 5 of you going to do?" Naruto responds, "Not sure, probably go to a barbecue joint. You can come if you want." "Okay, I'll ask my dad," she grinned. "I'll demand he lets me." Naruto nods and adds, "Do you want me to walk you home?" She chuckles. "Didn't know you were such a gentleman. Sure, why not?" Naruto and Ino appear to enjoy talking about nothing very important as they walk side by side. He tells Naruto about what he and Kiba did, which was to paint all of the ANBU uniforms bright pink, after they continue discussing how he made her feel ashamed. Despite her horror, she burst out laughing. When they arrive at her house, Izumi waves goodbye and rushes inside before her face turns to a tomato. "What's with the face, dear? You seem flustered. Is Naruto out there?" she asks with a smile. Ino turns to face her mom. Mom, that's mean. Oh, Naruto-kun and his friends are going to a barbecue place to celebrate becoming genin. He said I was welcome to go, can I? Izumi nods and smiles as Ino runs to her room after blushing once more. Why, of course, dear, did I also just hear you call Naruto-kun, she asks. Later, when they hear their names and see Ino racing up, all the boys are ready to enter the barbecue. After waiting for her, they go inside, and she promptly finds a place next to Naruto. Given that Ino hasn't taken her eyes off Naruto since we got there, that she was trying not to laugh at the academy, and that she often gets anxious when our families come together, Shadow Ninja observes the sudden movement and smiles, implying that Ino might be attracted to him. Yes, this ought to be enjoyable. The rest of the evening is uneventful. Kiba has also noticed the amused stares that Ino gives Naruto. He glances at Shadow Ninja with a sly smile. Teams 1 through 6 are worthless when Irika enters the room 2 days after everyone has returned to the academy and says, "Good morning, Genin. I have the teams here, so let's start. Team 7 is Naruto Mom, Sakura Haruno, and Choji Akimichi, and your sensei will be 6th headmaster." Even Irika was shocked to hear that Ino Shikacho would not be reunited, while Sakura is happy about that and Choji is sad. Shadow Ninja pats Choji on the shoulder and says, "I hope it won't be too bad." Choji nods and responds, "Yeah, maybe." Irika keeps going. Team 8 is Kiba Inazuka, Shino Aburame, and Hinata Hyuga, and your sensei will be Asuma Saratobi. He looks around and keeps going. Team 9 is still active, so Team 10 is as follows: Shadow Ninja Nara, Ino Yamanaka and Naruto, and your sensei will be Kurenai Yuhi. Beneath the desk, Ino joyfully shakes her fist while Shadow and Naruto give each other a fist bump. Even though her mother teases her, she is right, she has had a long-standing crush on Naruto. Even though she has never truly had a thing for Naruto, she only needs to act like she is sad that she isn't with his mother now that she will be spending more time with him. She had to pretend that she did because of her rivalry with his forehead. Shadow Ninja looks at Ino with a grin. Oh, she's over the moon, man. The teasing should be fun, though I do wonder why she acted like she liked Naruto Mom. Oh wait, Sakura, of course, that stupid rivalry thing is so troublesome. Irika then instructs everyone to obey their senseis upon their arrival. While Ino grows closer to her new team, Choji remains with them. When Naruto looks away, Ino blushes after returning his smile. Ino is horrified as Shadow Ninja smirks at her. Whoa, did he know this was going to be terrible? A few minutes later, the door opens and several people come inside the classroom. The initial group of adults are unimportant, but suddenly Asuma Sarutobi Gigi, Naruto's son, shows there. "Hey Naruto, how are you doing?" he asks, looking around. Naruto nods and remarks, "Not bad, Asuma-sensei." With a smile, Asuma remarks, "Dad asks when you gonna cook for us again." Naruto rolls his eyes and wonders, is the headmaster using his son as a form of blackmail to force me to cook? "Worth a try, Team 8, follow me," Asuma replies, grinning. Returning to the Shadow Ninja, Naruto chuckles and remarks, "Man, Gigi is really cheeky, making his son come here and trying to guilt-trip me into cooking for him again." Choji smiles and remarks, "Your cooking is awesome, Naruto." Naruto scoffs, kind of the point Choji, but he laughs and remarks, "I should blame his wife, she gave me cookbooks." Choji smiles. "Back and call to the headmaster, I lucky you." As Ino and Shadow Ninja remark, he looking at Naruto wondering how he personally knows the headmaster, a few of the students laugh. Just then, the door opens again, and a woman enters, her eyes blood red and her hair long and black. After giving the woman a fierce look and looking around, Ino says, "Team 10 follow me." Ino grumbles, "Crap, I hope Naruto-kun doesn't like her. I'll just have to show him my womanly charms." After giving Choji a short pat on the shoulder, Ino smiles and follows them as Naruto, Shadow Ninja, and Ino stand up. Sakura, on the other hand, has been watching Ino since the teams were revealed, and she finds it surprising that Ino Pig is fond of Naruto. Whoa, some of the Naruto Mom's fangirls share her enthusiasm for Hinata. Kurenai chuckles as they take a seat. "Hello team, I am Kurenai Yuhi. I will be your sensei until you become Chunin. Now let's start with the introductions. I know you know my name, but I'd like a more in-depth introduction, so name, likes and dislikes and goals for the future, that sort of thing." Ino nods. "Okay, maybe as our sensei you should start, Kurenai sensei." Kurenai smiled, obviously. They are all seated on benches and begin with, "Well, my name is Kurenai Yuhi. I like learning new gen spirit arts, and my friends, I dislike perverts and tardiness. Be lucky you're not on the same team as 6th headmaster. You'd be waiting around for him for hours. I guess my goals are to become the best kunoichi, hopefully to have mastered as many gen spirit arts as I can and eventually start a family. Okay, I'll start with you, the one who looks like he's about to fall asleep." Shadow Ninja says, "Troublesome, fine. My name is Shadow Ninja Nara. I like watching clouds, and my friends, I guess I dislike loud people and people who disturb my cloud watching time. My goals are to become a competent ninja and have a quiet life, marry an ordinary woman. That's about it." And saying that was troublesome. Naruto's smile never fades. "Man, he's so annoying, can't he take anything seriously," moans Ino. "I forgot how lazy the Nara were," Kurenai says, raising an eyebrow. "He may be a good tactician, so I'll need to employ his sharp mind to find anything out. Alright, let's move on. How about you in the middle?" "Hello Kurenai sensei, I'm Ino Yamanaka," Ino ends with a smile. "I like Naruto-kun, flowers, and my pals." She thinks I don't like forehead, which makes her flush. Making my family proud and becoming a great kunoichi are my goals. Finally, I find myself with Nerdu-kun. When she shared her goals and interests, Nerda heard what was said and saw the blushes, but she wasn't sure why. Despite hearing it, Shadow Ninja ignored it. Kurenai appears to be a lovely, kind girl, but I've heard she's a bit noisy. She's thinking, okay, and lastly you on the left. I don't understand why, but she dislikes foreheads. Her objectives are commendable. She obviously likes someone based on her blushes, and she seems to favor her teammate based on the fact that she continues glancing at him. I don't mind minor crushes as long as she is focused on her business. My name is Nerdu, and I like to train my friends and play practical jokes. I also like to eat ramen, cook, learn new spirit arts, and become the strongest ninja in Hyde Ninja Village. I don't like arrogant people who think they're better than others. I want to be the headmaster so that I can show everyone how amazing I am and maybe settle down later. Other than that, I'm not really sure. My aim is people who let their anxieties guide them. Well, I already achieved that. Kurenai grinned and said, well, Nerdu is an interesting kid with some good likes, minus the pranks. I've heard of some of his so-called pranks like the ANBU, though Yugo did find it mildly funny. It's admirable for someone his age that he cooks as well. The villagers are what he dislikes, but his objectives, becoming the headmaster and being awesome, are truly unexpected. What a funny boy he is. If they make it through the test, they should be an intriguing team. She smiles. Well, this was an interesting introduction and I will enjoy teaching you all. Maybe I can taste some of your cooking sometime, Nerda, to see just how good you are, of course. Nerda nods and adds, I can do that. Ino beams. He's cooked for the headmaster, so it must be good. It also means you will have to cook for me, Nerdu. I am your teammate now. Nerdu beams. But you've tasted my food before, Ino-chan, but okay. He must be good if he is ready for the headmaster, as Kurenai states. Okay team, now that introductions are over, it's time to talk about your test. Ino asks, what test, Kurenai-sensei, in shock. Why, your genin test, of course, she smirks. Nerdo and Ino exchange confused glances, but even Shadow Ninja is confused. Kurenai-sensei, we all passed our genin test. Nods. In a way, yes, that was to see if you could become a genin. My test will show you should remain genin. There is a 75% fail rating and the people who fail return to the academy. Okay team, so meet me at the village gates tomorrow at 7 AM and from there we will do the test. Nerdo, Ino, and Shadow Ninja nod as Kurenai vanishes via Shunshin. I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow, man. This is troublesome, remarks Shadow Ninja. Nerd asks, grinning, what isn't troublesome for you? Shadow Ninja smirks and walks away, asking Nerdu, do you want to get something to eat? Ino returns the grin. Nerdu beams. Sure, why not? Where do you want to go, Ino-chan? She said, it doesn't matter. Nerdu nods and says, then let's go. Team 10 is waiting for their sensei to arrive at the gate the next day. Ino remembers that Nerdu ended up staying with her yesterday after they had dinner. They went for a stroll, and she showed him all the many kinds of flowers at her favorite flower-filled field in Hyde Ninja Village. She was amazed to see everything when he later led her to his favorite location, the Headmaster Monument. It was great at night. She blushes in embarrassment when Nerd rouses her from her slumber and informs her that Sensei is present. They might make a good couple, Kurenai stated with a smile. Okay team, follow me. They all follow her for a little bit before she stops, saying, you two will also have camps and I will randomly attack each camp. This is a survival mission. I wish you luck. Remember, this could happen, so it's best to prepare now. Okay, the test is this. Ino set up camp here. What I want you to do is guard this camp. I will attack you and you have to keep this camp safe until noon. Ino nods, hi Kurenai-sensei. Shadow Ninja follows Kurenai, and after a series of odd looks, Nerdu turns back to Ino and says, good luck, Ino. She smiles and says, you to Nerdu-kun. Well, this sucks. I wanted to stay with Nerdu-kun. Oh well, I better get setting up traps. Ino groans as he watches them go, grinning as they run away. After arriving at his camp, Shadow Ninja gives Nerdu a fist bump and then follows Kurenai-sensei. He laughs as he considers their departure. Well, unless you're Nerdu and his clone army, still it's going to be hard enough if I'm thinking this. I bet Ino's pulling her hair out from nerves. Okay, for starters, this just seems wrong. I get that this could happen, but wouldn't it be best to stay as a team? Kurenai nods and employs Shunshin after dropping Nerdu off. After a brief moment of observation from a tree, she adds, I think I'll start with Ino, and then disappears again. Big mistake, Sensei. He does some hand signs. Tajuwa Kage Bunshin, no spirit art, multiple shadow clone technique, Nerdu says with a smile as he watches her leave. Let's get to work, guys. Let's make a fortress. No way is she getting in. More than 300 clones grin before setting up traps. Kurenai sees Ino and remarks, okay, she set up some traps, but only if I attack from the north. That's not wise, but I'll test out her anyway. She immediately jumps down and attacks, but is surprised when she lands and nearly gets struck by kunai after missing her step. Sighing, Kurenai says, okay, so I was wrong, but let's see how she does. Kurenai is not the best, but Ino is not very hard to defeat. Kurenai tosses a smoke pellet and disappears through Shunshin, and Ino watches her say, well, that was weird, she could have beaten me, why did she run, man, I hate this. In the interim, Shadow Ninja has constructed his camp, but the more he thinks about it, the more he sees how defective the test appears to be. Wait a minute, this is all wrong, separate camps, I understand, but we are a team, so I think we should guard one base. Man, this is troublesome, I'll go and find Naruto. As Shadow Ninja travels to Naruto, Naruto has built trenches, tripwires, kunai launchers, a ridiculous number of traps, and explosive tags on every tree within 100 meters of one another. While some of these tags explode and cover you in paint, others unleash poisons and knockout gas that will paralyze you. It's plain crazy to attack here. Kurenai is confused when she arrives at the Shadow Ninja's camp and declares, if he's asleep, I'll kill him. She examines the area for a few minutes, dodging a few exploding tags, but she is uninjured. Could he have figured out the real mission? He is the smartest of the three? Additionally, a campfire has been constructed, and Naruto's clones are preparing breakfast. As Naruto stirs the beans beside the fire, a clone shouts, Boss, Shadow Ninja's coming. Naruto nods, and the clone nods, saying, bring him here, use Shunshin. In front of the Shadow Ninja, Naruto appears and says, hold on. After being shocked when Naruto takes his and Shunshin away and they resurface next to Naruto the clone before departing, Shadow Ninja smirks and asks, is there a reason you did that? Naruto replies, yep, you wouldn't want to walk into my trap zone, or as I'm calling it, the thrill zone. Shadow Ninja grins as Naruto explains what he did, adding, damn Naruto, you don't do things by halves, do you? Naruto chuckles. Now where is the fun in that, man? I can't wait for Kurenai-sensei to attack. Want some breakfast? The Shadow Ninja says, sure, so I was thinking that splitting us up was a test, we should have joined up like we have and guard the base together. As Naruto and Shadow Ninja eat, a clone comes up and says, go and find Ino and bring her here. The clone nods, and Shunshin departs. Makes sense, we should bring Ino here then. Shadow Ninja concurs as Naruto nods. Man, Ino remarks, kicking some stones in her base. This is so boring. The clone recognizes her as Ino-chan. Ino looks up. Naruto-kun, what are you doing here? What about your base? The copy states, I'm a clone. Naruto ordered me to bring you to his camp. Shadow Ninjas there also, they both came to the conclusion that it was more a teamwork exercise than solo work. Well, let's go, Naruto-kun, Ino grinned. When they arrive at the camp a short while later, the Shadow Ninja grinned and said, hey Ino, you can let go now. The clone laughed, took Ino, and wrapped her arms around him before Shunshin departed. Ino blushes and screams, hey guys, have you been attacked yet? She attacked me and could have won, but she left, as the clone dispels. Naruto beams. She will probably have second thoughts about attacking this place. Why? Ino asks with a smile. This should be fun. Are you cooking, Naruto-kun? She asks, laughing as the Shadow Ninja describes what Naruto has done. Naruto nods and replies, yes, come on, I saved some for you. Ino rushes up and sits down next to Naruto when he serves her a dish, and she immediately begins eating. While they're eating, someone yells, damn it NRDO and your pranks. Naruto, Ino, and Shadow Ninja all smile at each other, and Naruto says, let the fun begin. Naruto, Ino, and Shadow Ninja all stand up after hearing a series of explosions and curses. Naruto scratches his head and wonders, do you think I overdid it? Shadow Ninja chuckles. Let me think, yeah kinda, still she should have read your profile better, she should have known what she got herself into. Ino groans, do you think she'll be mad at us? Naruto shakes his head again and adds, well, me certainly, but we did figure out the true objective. Ino and Shadow Ninja nod, but neither of them is looking forward to Kurenai-sensei's arrival. In fact, Naruto is silently thinking, yeah, I overdid it, I hope she forgives me. After 5 more minutes of explosions and swearing, Naruto, Shadow Ninja, and Ino draw their kunai as Naruto tells them she is almost here. Shadow Ninja smiles and says, this has to go down as a one-time event. If anyone did try attacking and most of the stuff wasn't paints and mild poisons, they'd be dead. Take comfort in that before Sensei kills you. Thanks for the support, Shika, Naruto exhales. But she did say we had to defend the camp from her attacks. Ino smiles. That is true, although she will be pissed at you. With a nod, the Shadow Ninja remarks, oh, most definitely, she'll be pissed. Naruto swallows, yes, I'm a dead man. Nice knowing you guys. Kurenai glares at Naruto, then she looks at Ino and Shadow Ninja, who seem to have figured out the true goal, damn it. I'm too tired to fight them, and after avoiding all those traps, he's almost as cunning as Shadow Ninja, and I bet he's also as devious as Anko. Damn it, I really wanted to kill Naruto for this, but I have to admit that this is a death trap. If it weren't for paint bombs and numbing poisons, but real explosions, I'd be dead right now. She shouts, hey Naruto, I officially hate you, but it seems you all figured out the true objective, and if Naruto wouldn't have defended his camp as well as he did, I would be fighting you, but I'm rather tired. Oh man, Naruto moans, my clones didn't even fight you. Kurenai raises an eyebrow and responds, clones. Naruto nods and declares, you can come out now. I'll make this team the best. Okay Naruto, you can dispel them. You all pass. Meet me at the Headmaster Tower tomorrow at 9 AM for your first mission as Genin. I have to report in. Kurenai searches the area as more than 300 clones emerge from the trees in all directions. He's crazy. Did he really want to fight me with so many clones? Maybe it would have been better if 6th Headmaster had Nerda. Keep in mind that he's my student. Ino is beaming. Would you not like something to eat first? Nerdo made breakfast? Kurenai smirks in spite of his dread and replies, sure, I think I deserve some food after what I've just been through. Nerdo makes a plate of food for her and gives it to Ino as they all sit down, remarking, here, she still looks pissed at me. Ino nods and says, okay Nerdukuin. Kurenai greets her with a smile and says, thank you, Ino. Ino grinned and said, no problem sensei. Kurenai starts eating and remarks, wow, this is great, but as a punishment, he'll have to do some chores for me. Well, nerdier punishment is doing chores for me, like cooking, all my meals for a month, maybe other things if I decide to add anything, Kurenai responds. Nerda nods and scratches his head. Okay, Kurenai-sensei sounds fair, and I'm sorry, I kind of went overboard with everything, he says. Chuckles, maybe so, but you turned a simple camp into a death trap to enter. Adding numbing poisons and parallelizing poisons was a stroke of genius. Even the paint worked, because the enemy would be easy to spot. I guess going by your profile I should have expected this from you. Nerda blushes at that. Thanks, Kurenai-sensei. Kurenai nods as the others finish their food and remarks, the rest of the day, you are free to do whatever you want, but remember that tomorrow is 9 a.m. They all nod hi in unison. She nods, and Shunshin leaves. Team 10 looks at each other. Shadow Ninja smiles and says, we could use this as our little camp for training, trying to see other people, trying to get in here would be so funny, oh, just imagine Nerdo Mom's face, we so have to lure him here. Nerdo and Ino just chuckle, and Nerdo grabs Shadow Ninja's arm. Ino unexpectedly puts her arms around Nerdo's waist, which he finds amusing. They decide to meet up later. The Jonin from teams 1 through 6 all left, and Asuma, the 6th headmaster, and the other Jonin notice Kurenai's new lively appearance as she enters the headmaster tower. The 3rd headmaster smiled and said, you're the last to arrive Kurenai, okay, the Jonin senseis that have informed me of their team's failures, can go. The 3rd headmaster grinned and said, so 6th headmaster how did they do fail I suppose? With a smile, the 6th headmaster reveals to everyone, no, actually they passed. How did team 8 do, son? The 3rd headmaster nods and asks. Kurenai brightens because Hinata is on that squad and she treats her like a sister when Asuma smiles and says, they passed. How did team 10 perform? Kurenai, the 3rd headmaster gives a nod. Kurenai is embarrassed and responds, they all passed, it didn't take Shadow Ninja long to figure it out, plus Nerd Ino needs quite a lot of work, but Nerdu is a genius. Would you mind describing your test and what transpired? The 3rd headmaster grinned. Kurenai nods and informs everyone after Asuma chuckles, that kid is insane, what a devious and yet brilliant mind. The 6th headmaster smiled and said, knowing who his parents are, I'm not surprised he's like this. Minato, Nerdomom, it seems your son is a hell of a ninja, the cunning of Minato-sensei, the brains of you both, the prankster of Nerdomom. I think Nerdu will do tremendous things. Kurenai and Asuma look at each other, and 3rd headmaster sighs, 6th headmaster that is a secret. The 6th headmaster scratches his head and says, sorry, headmaster-sama. With a raised eyebrow, Kurenai inquires, so, as his sensei don't I have a right to know? The 3rd headmaster moans, damn you. The 6th headmaster responds, okay, I'll tell you both, but don't tell anyone that his parents were Minato Namake's, the Yondaime, and Nerda's mother. Kurenai is shocked to hear, I have the Yondaime's son, as my student. Replied Asuma, I guess we know where he gets his cunning, and great mind from, and his prankster mind, why am I not surprised? Headmaster number 3 nods. Now remember, this is a secret, not even the council knows and I'd like to keep it that way. Minato, and Nerdomom, had many enemies, if any of them found out that they had a son, their enemies would come for their boy, I will not allow that to come to pass. Laughs, neither will I, Headmaster-sama, you have my word. The 6th headmaster states, that goes without saying, he is Minato-sensei's son. With a nod, the 3rd headmaster declares, you're all dismissed. Kurenai hears her name and groans, not Anko, as she heads home after they all nod, hi, Headmaster-sama. Anko smiles as he jogs up to her and remarks, wow, Kurenai loving the look, very colorful. Kurenai sighs and asks, what do you want, Anko? Anko smiles. Well, for starters why you look like a rainbow we should go to the hot springs, you can tell me, all about your test, and how it went, it seemed interesting, but going by your oh so colorful look, things didn't go as planned. Kurenai smiles and responds, something like that. After Kurenai tells Anko everything, she starts laughing and exclaims, oh, man, I can't believe I missed that you have a real character on your team, oh, I can't wait to meet him. They then head to the hot springs to relax. You are not meeting him, you and him, together would turn this village into ruin, Kurenai says, rolling her eyes. Anko pouts and remarks, so not fair, Kore-chan. Kurenai shrugs and sticks out her mouth. I must say though he and Shadow Ninja are two cunning individuals, add in a mindwalker, like Ino, and they will be a deadly team, she says. He responds, I bet so. How much of his traps did you trigger? Kurenai chuckles. Not sure, he also had 300 plus clones as backup, ready to fight me. I would not want to be his enemy, that's for sure. I want to meet him, he seems so cool. Is he cute? Complains Anko. Kurenai says, rolling her eyes, Anko, he's 12, plus Ino likes him. She responds, still, I want to meet this master tactician. Kurenai shrugs and adds, maybe, someday. When Shoji and Team 8 later meet up with Team 10, Kiba tells them about their Genin test, Shoji then tells them about Team 7's test, Naruto then tells them about Team 10's. By the conclusion, Shoji is eating potato chips while giggling uncontrollably, and Kiba is on the ground. Though astonished, Hinata was glad Kurenai was safe and was in awe of Naruto's slyness. Why am I not surprised with you, Naruto? Grins Shino. After being rejected again by Naruto Momkuin, Sakura is now strolling down the street. She observes Choji, Ino, Naruto, Shadow Ninja, Kiba, Akamaru, Shino, and Hinata as she glances into a barbecue business after hearing laughter. They all seem to be very happy, and she sighs. She feels someone grip her arm as she turns to go, and she knows it's Ino. Come on, you're joining us. We were talking about our Genin tests. They were pretty cool. Your bell test seemed interesting. Sakura nods okay. They all begin conversing as she follows Ino inside and takes a seat. Shadow Ninja finds it too annoying, whereas Shino and Choji don't. Sakura is informed about their test by both Kiba and Ino. Sakura feels happy despite being shocked. She never really had any friends aside from Ino, but it appears that things are starting to change now that Genin is around. Although she is acquainted with most of these and knows Naruto, she doesn't particularly despise him and wouldn't acknowledge it, but she finds his practical tricks amusing. Most of Team 7, Team 8, and Team 10 sit, chat, eat, drink, and laugh throughout the course of the following few hours. They are all content and cordial with one another, but they are unaware that Asuma, Sensei's sixth head master, is observing them. Sakura nearly fled, but the blonde Yamanaka girl, Ino, rushed out and drew her in after the sixth head master noticed her disappointed, rejected appearance. Kurenai witnessed it as well and was happy that Ino had consoled her friend who appeared to be depressed. Although she is a little irritated that she had to discuss her embarrassment, she is also pleased that they are all connecting. Asuma looks on and responds, seems our teams are all bonding, that's good. No Naruto mom though, knowing him he's probably brooding. The sixth headmaster nods and adds, probably still he may come around. Everything went as planned, and Naruto took the first step toward becoming a master ninja. Where will Genin end up next? He checks his watch, gets out of bed, stretches, and goes to the bathroom to switch on the shower. Then he builds a clone, tells it to begin preparing breakfast while he showers, hops in, and wakes up. But after a minute, he remembers how Ino called him Naruto-kun yesterday. She slung her arms around his waist as if her life depended on it, which was kind of cute. He simply smiles, relishing the good sensation, but he shrugs and continues taking a shower. He comes out after about 10 minutes, drooling even though he is the one making breakfast, and he can smell the aroma of it. He chuckles, assuming his clone is doing the same. Ino, who is also awake at the Yamanaka household, yawns as she gets out of bed and checks the time. Yes, finally a Genin and on the same team as Naruto-kun, now I just have to show him what I can do. I admit I didn't do anything in the test that was all Naruto-kun, but from here on out things will be different, she says. She leaves her room and goes downstairs, deep in thought. Since Kurenai-sensei looks amazing and isn't overweight or thin, I doubt she's on a diet, so maybe I could ask her. But for now, I'll just eat a typical breakfast because I'm so hungry. When she reaches the kitchen, she gives her parents hugs before taking a seat. Ino is quite hungry, so her mother hurriedly sets down her plate but is surprised when she requests for more. Inoichi glances at his wife, who merely grins and fills her plate before sitting at the table with Ino and Inoichi. Inoichi knows they passed the test when he inquires about it over breakfast. Inoichi has to acknowledge that it was a very well-defended base and that, with Naruto's history of pranks, he would be a nightmare for the enemy. Ino told them when she got home, but she didn't fully explain what occurred, so when Ino tells them they're both in shock, Inoichi has to acknowledge that. Ino's mother, meanwhile, starts laughing uncontrollably. She can't, of course, let Ino know how dangerous Naruto is. She grins at Ino as Inoichi leaves for work a little while later, leaving her with her mother. So dear, I couldn't help but notice you blush when you mentioned calling Naruto-kun. Is there something you're not telling me? She says. Ino is blushing as she looks at her mother. I'm just glad to be on the same team as Naruto-kun. I'm not ashamed to say that. I like Naruto-kun, and I can get closer to him now we're on a team together, but I need to get stronger also. As I said, Naruto-kun did all the work, me and Shadow Ninja just waited for the fireworks, so to speak. Ino's mother is simply saying, give it time dear, I don't want you becoming a fangirl like others in your class like Sakura. It's a shame you lost your friendship with her, you were once so close. Maybe over time you can regain that friendship. Well, you have to be off shortly, so have a nice day dear. With a nod, Ino heads upstairs for a quick wash before meeting her co-workers and her crush. Naruto ate and brushed his teeth before hurrying out of his house to the training location where Kurenai-sensei had first brought them. He might be late because he lost track of time while reading a scroll. Since it's so far away, he initially ignores his name being shouted when he hears it when he's walking her. But when he hears it again a minute later, he turns to see Ino running toward him. He waits before continuing since she looks tired. After a little while, she pauses beside him and says, "Caught you, seems we're both running late, what's your excuse?" with a smile. Reading a scroll and lost track of time. "What's yours?" Naruto says with a simple laugh. She blushes in embarrassment and remarks, "Had a shower then couldn't find my headband." Naruto chuckles and inquires, "Did you check your waist?" She smiles as she answers, "Yep, the first place I checked was under my bed." Naruto remains silent. "Well, let's speed up or we'll be late, and after what I did to Kurenai-sensei yesterday she might still be pissed at me." Ino is merely stating, "Well, you did go overboard, but it was so pretty, also all those amazing colors." Naruto also chuckles, and they keep moving on. When they finally get there, they see Shadow Ninja dozing off beside a tree. They both roll their eyes, and Naruto questions whether he ought to pull a practical joke on him. Kurenai then appears, examines Ino's proximity to Naruto, and grins. They'll make a cute couple. She sighs, typical. Then she goes to Naruto, who has produced a water balloon inexplicably. Both Naruto and Ino are startled when she smiles and holds out her hand, but Naruto just shrugs and gives it to Kurenai, who pauses beside Shadow Ninja and then drops it on his head to wake him. A sigh escapes his lips as he turns to Naruto, who smiles and says, "Don't look at me, I didn't do it." Kurenai smiles. "Well, now I have all your attention, let's head to get our first mission, shall we?" Shadow Ninja turns to Naruto and says, "So you did that, didn't you?" They all nod and fall behind her. "He had the water balloon, but Kurenai-sensei took it from him and used it. I never expected that to happen," Ino says in response to Naruto. Shadow Ninja don't say anything, even when they are shocked. The 6th headmaster claims that Squad 7 is a barely functional squad, with one member being a fangirl, a spoiled little brat, and an Akamichi who, based on what she's heard, doesn't interact well with strangers. After meeting the headmaster, Kurenai-sensei merely grinned at her team, but when they were given their first task, weeding a garden, none of them were pleased. This was easy for Ino. She admits that working with plants is quite boring, even if she does it frequently. She looks at Shadow Ninja, who is silently plucking weeds, but she imagines that this mission, if you can call it that, has not impressed him. Then she looks at her crush, who seems to be working, but she thinks it's adorable that he's sticking his tongue out. Naruto then looks up and gives Ino a smile, but she quickly turns away to hide her blush and the fact that she was observed. After staring at Shadow Ninja, Naruto goes back to work, but on the inside, he is angry and sad. When the people are just too indolent to finish it themselves, how in the world can you call this a mission? How does this connect to being a ninja, and what is the specific aim of this? After 10 minutes, they are all done and return for another job, which is simply to unpack boxes and put them in a store. Even though they still think the missions are a joke, they all realize they need to work together because they do it quickly by cooperating, even though it appears absolutely worthless. Because Ino lacks the strength of Naruto or Shadow Ninja, Naruto had to help her, which annoys Ino because she wanted to prove to Naruto what she was capable of. Kurenai announces that they will be stopping for lunch after the task is finished, which makes everyone happy, especially Ino, who is still self-conscious. When they all sat down to eat, the waiter wasn't especially happy to see Naruto, but he quickly left after Kurenai glared at him. The owner is her buddy, thus he wouldn't want to find out that one of his staff members was refusing to service anyone, doesn't detest Naruto. "What is wrong, Ino? You seem sad." Kurenai then looks at Ino, who is looking down, and says, "What is wrong, Ino?" Naruto and Shadow Ninja immediately excuse themselves. "I just felt so ashamed before having Naruto help me because I couldn't carry that box," Ino says, raising her eyebrows. Smiles Kurenai thought as much. "That's nothing to worry about, Ino, it's all about teamwork. Yes, things can be easier or harder for others, but that's where teammates come in to assist them. There will be things you're better at than both Naruto and Shadow Ninja, but I'm also thinking you wanted to prove yourself to Naruto, correct, and it made you look weak, am I correct?" When Ino responded, Kurenai sighs, "Don't worry about it, some of those boxes seemed heavy, he would have known that, so helped you out, and there's no shame in admitting it, okay?" When Kurenai nods, Ino responds, "Thank you, Kurenai-sensei, can I ask you something? I used to be on a diet, is it wrong to be one? I wanted Naruto to notice me." Laughs, "Honestly yes, it's not a good idea to be on a diet. Ninjas and kunoichis go through more calories than anyone, so we need to eat. Myself and my friend Anko never went on a diet, neither did my other friend Yugo. I can understand why some girls do it, but really it's making you weaker. Take for instance when you called Naruto earlier, by the time you reached him you were out of breath. Girls who go on a diet will only be hindered by being weaker, do you understand?" After giving it some thought, Ino answers, "So if you eat, how come you don't put on weight?" Kurenai beams. "We train and burn off the weight. Take Naruto for instance, from what I heard he eats a lot, and does he look overweight?" Ino shakes her head and continues, "That's because he burns it all off." Ino nods and then queries, "But what about Choji? He's always eating and, well, he's you know." After giving the question some thought, Kurenai answers, "Well, the Akimichis are different, they need to keep eating for their spirit arts. I admit it's weird always stuffing their faces, it makes them seem like they're always hungry, but they need to eat constantly." Ino nods and says, "So I should eat normally?" Nods. "Yes, eat normally, but I will help you with your stamina, as that is really poor as it proved when you were out of breath earlier. I will work on your stamina, and much more. I will also do the same for Naruto and Shadow Ninja. You will all be in top shape when I'm done with you." As soon as Naruto and Shadow Ninja return, they all start eating. When they are done, Kurenai pays for their meals, and they all return to the training grounds. When they arrive, she says, "Okay, team, now it's time for training. This will happen every day. Morning will be missions, then lunch, then training. If we have time, maybe another mission. If not, then you will be excused. Sound good?" With everyone nodding, she continues, "Okay, first thing we will do is a little warm up to get our bodies loose before we have a jog around the training ground. I'm nowhere near as insane as Mato guy, and you should be thankful of that." Shiver down her back. After the jog, we will do more exercises before we will spar against each other, so let's start up with that warm up. I'll skip the warm up, jog, and spars. Kurenai is beaming following the fight. "Okay, Naruto is obviously the strongest of the team and has the most stamina, so can outlast the both of you, maybe even me if I'm honest. Shadow Ninja, you're in second place, but you need to stop being so lazy. Unfortunately, Ino is the weakest." Naruto chuckles and remarks, "She's not weak, Kurenai-sensei." Laughs Kurenai, "Unfortunately she is, Naruto. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but she knows she's weak, but she's determined to train, isn't that right, Ino?" She nods and smiles. "When we had that job earlier, she was lapped twice by you, Naruto, and once by Shadow Ninja. I have already discussed with Ino that I'm going to be helping her, so she will get stronger in time. But that is where you and Shadow Ninja come in. She is your teammate, so you will assist her and as a team get stronger. Do you understand, Naruto?" Then Naruto looks at Ino and says, "Yes, Kurenai-sensei, I understand." She smiles. "Good, well I think that's it for today, so the rest of the day is yours. Tomorrow we will meet here at 10 a.m. and that will be the same every day unless I tell you otherwise. Well, have fun in whatever you do." "So what now?" Shadow Ninja asks his teammates as she departs. "Not sure," Naruto shrugs, adding, "We could train some more." The Shadow Ninja looks at Ino and says, "I just forgot Dad told me to find him when we're done, but why don't you two train together, some team bonding and all that?" When both Ino and Naruto shrug, Shadow Ninja just walks away grinning, stating, "Naruto will help you get stronger, Ino, as will I." Naruto looks at Ino and says, "So what do you want to do, a spar or something?" Ino shrugs and adds, "Damn it, all alone with Naruto-kun. I should be happy but I'm so nervous," but in reality, she's anxious. "Oh okay, let's have a spar." Naruto simply slaps Ino's hand away and places his hand on her chest, pushing her back as she lunges in with a quick blow. Ino and Naruto both take up their Thai spirit art rolls. She immediately rushes in once more, kicking, but he grabs her foot, throwing her off balance. "Did you see how easy that was, Ino? You need to think before you act." She becomes dizzy after Naruto spins her around. "You could have attempted kicking me with your other leg if you were confident, but you were unsure of what to do in that circumstance. Although it's not quite a ninja move, your opponent might have been taken aback. A negligent assailant plots his actions. I was aware that you were about to kick and punch." Nothing is said by Ino. "Oh, okay Naruto-kun, but I need to work on my stamina first and build up muscle in my legs, right?" Naruto nods and says, "Correct Ino, okay what now?" Ino chuckles. "How about we sit down and talk, get to know each other better?" Nods. "Oh okay, follow me, I know a nice place, it's not far, should only take a few minutes to get there." "Alright, let's go," Ino says with a nod. After a short stroll, Naruto leads Ino into a clearing where they emerge near a little lake with several flowers that Ino had never seen before. She acknowledges the surroundings and remarks, "This place is nice, how did you find this place?" She grins and says, "Such pretty flowers, we don't sell them at our shop, I wonder why." Naruto beams. "Oh, was just walking around once and stumbled on this place, follow me." He approaches the lake, takes off his sandals, and dips his feet into the water. Watching him in shock, Ino honestly believed he was going to strip, which would have been awkward but would have been a nice sight. But after witnessing what he did, she made the decision to follow suit because her feet hurt. She sits beside him, dips her feet in the water, and grinned, adding, "Well, that feels nice." Naruto nods and leans back, and Ino watches him before doing the same. After looking up at the sky together, Naruto tells Ino, "You shouldn't feel bad about being the weakest of us, Ino. I know you're strong, Kurenai-sensei will get us all in shape in no time." She smiles and nods, saying, "I know Naruto-kun, I'm going to change and get stronger." Naruto beams. "We both will, and same for Shadow Ninja unless he falls asleep, which is likely." Ino turns to face Naruto and asks, "Naruto, may I ask you a question?" after chuckling. "Yeah, he's definitely very lazy." His eyes meet hers, and he adds, "Sure, what's up?" She asks, grinning, "What's it like living on your own?" "Well, it's okay, I guess. I mean, having a family living with you would be great, but sometimes I think you need some alone time." "Can it be lonely?" The answer is yes, but I've lived alone most of my life, so I'm used to it, Naruto says after first looking at her and then the sky. Initially, Ino doesn't think he will answer her. "Oh Naruto-kun, it must be tough and so lonely, I don't know if I could do it. No, I know I couldn't. Maybe when we get older and closer I could live with you," Ino pondered with a sheepish grin. Despite seeing that, Naruto said nothing. Naruto says, "I hope we get some real missions soon. I mean, how can we call what we did today missions? It's just chores that the villagers are too lazy to do themselves." "Yeah, I agree, not very ninja-like, huh?" Ino chuckles. After an hour of sat there talking about unconnected things, it started to rain quickly, so Naruto and Ino quickly put on their sandals and rushed back into the hamlet. It was still raining when they arrived to Ino's apartment, and Naruto turned to face her and said, "Well, you should get inside. I'll see you tomorrow, Ino-chan." Ino smiles and asks, "Are you sure you don't want to come in? He called me Ino-chan." With a smile, Naruto responded, "Nah, that's okay, I better get home CYA." "Alright, I wish you could have come inside. I wonder why you didn't want to," Ino says with a smile. "Naruto-kun, I'll see you tomorrow." When she looks out the window, Naruto is gone. He only waves his hand before running off into the rain. She smiles and goes inside to avoid the rain. Naruto hurries back to his house after leaving Ino's, unsure of her parents' feelings toward him and hesitant to take a gamble despite the enticing offer. As soon as he reaches his apartment, he finds his keys, opens the door, locks it, and instantly makes a clone to pour some tea while he goes to his room to change out of his wet clothes. His tea is ready when he returns to the front room, so he picks it up and continues reading the scroll from earlier. He thinks about how terrible today's missions were while reading, but it was nice to spend time with Ino. He doesn't know why he brought her to his hidden place, but he simply shrugs and continues to read and drink tea. An hour later, he finishes the scroll and starts making dinner.